Pen and wash work is ideal for outdoor sketching. This is a sketch I made of a barn in Buckfast Lee last year, done in this medium. To begin with, what I'm going to do is to draw in with a pen the outlines of the barn. Nice stuttery line. It's a very thin pen, a 02 nib. If you look on the end of your pen, if you've got a drawing pen, you'll see it has a number on it. They run from 02 to plus 10, I think. And I like to use quite a thin pen for this kind of work. Stuttery line, very important that. You don't want to have only continuous lines with this kind of sketch. It's an old building, so these kind of stuttery lines are appropriate. This medium you can do outside in any weather conditions, really. It doesn't matter if it's very hot and sunny, because you can always draw with a pen in those conditions. I had one student who took pen and wash to Athens in August, which can be sort of 90 or 100 degrees in old money in terms of temperature. I'm just drawing in the barn door here, again a stuttery line. I do have a pencil foundation here for the drawing, just to give me confidence. Normally I probably wouldn't do that, but it's just to help you really. If you've got worries about the indelibility of the pen, you can always put in a drawn sketch with a pencil as a foundation for what you do. Just putting in the slats of the barn door there. Barn door, surprisingly, in the top of the building. That's because farmers would use the barn attic to dry their crops. They would bung their crops in from a cart with a pitchfork through that door there. Just drawing down the side of the building there, old granite building of course. And here comes some ivy on the left hand side of the building. I'm drawing this with squiggly marks with a pen. This suggests the size and the bulk of the plant life, as it were. Probably a few nesting birds in there, especially the time of year when I drew this. Again, not a continuous line, it's a nice squiggly line. Same with this. This is part of the barnyard wall which I'm drawing in here. Again, a stuttery line, a few more bits of ivy, and there's where the barn wall meets the barn. Here we've got some downstrokes going in of the pen, nice hatching marks, quite close together, quite strong, to indicate the hedgerow, which is abutting the barn there. Nice dark tone, nice contrast with the highlight on the barn wall. Here I am going to draw in the bank of grass which meets the road there, down by the edge of the barn. Again, very stuttery lines, downstrokes of the pen, just suggesting those grasses. Nothing straight about the line, of course. It's just the edge of a lane where the grasses have grown. A stuttery line along that lane there. More hatching downstrokes of the pen and more stuttery lines. Just going to enhance and put some accents on the lines, suggesting the stonework in one or two places. I think if you're drawing this kind of subject, always concentrate on doing the stonework near to doors and windows. That's where it looks most appropriate to put some detail in. Not too much, just a suggestion of the way that the stones are meeting the woodwork. Just slightly stronger accents, I suppose, so leaning down more heavily on the pen to get a darker mark. Just wondering where to go now with the pen, so I'm going to put some shading in on the left hand side after I just put in the soffit there. Again, start to reline. There comes the shading. Down strokes of the pen. Nice hatching. Bit of shading going, just meeting the ivy there, not quite going into it. This takes a bit of courage if you're not used to a pen, but it's the only way you can suggest shadows, really. Just putting shadows in under the soffit of the roof. Smaller, shorter down strokes this time. It just gets that impression of the overhang. Down strokes to begin with, and then as we meet the roof coming towards us, alter the angle of the stroke to suggest that. That creates a nice little dark, shadowy overhang there. Still the same pen. I haven't increased the size of the nib. It's just simply pushing down more heavily on the pen to get that darker mark. It's a nice rough edge up that end. Just linking that all together with some cross hatching. A little bit of hatching going into the barn door there. Dark shadows. And more accents on the lintel. Getting the impression of a little bit of depth in there. And down strokes of the pen suggest the dark tone of the woodwork there. Again, creating a bit of a highlight with the stonework around it. Now need to just make some more little accents just to recover the line of the woodwork. And more depth there, or left on the right hand side of the door. Need now to suggest the stonework with squiggly lines, not too much, but just enough to suggest where this rough granite and brick wall is built. It's just the texture of it. No great detail. Important just to preserve the light on this side of the building. Just have enough of these squiggly lines and stone shapes to indicate what's going on. Stronger shadow on the left hand side of the barnyard wall there. Down strokes again, hatching strokes with the pen. Little accents just to finish that off and make more of the roughness of the wall. A bit more shadow going in, not too much, just enough to make a nice vignette sketch. Vignette means an incomplete sketch, so it has nice soft edges around it. Bit more ivy going in, little accents, stronger tone in some places, and some more stonework. Bit more grass. Nearly done now with the pen side of this, just strengthening up the tone of that with the pen to get a nice contrast with the wall. Down strokes, hatching strokes with the pen, just to finish that little section off. And a few little darker accents on the hedge as well. Stronger contrast. Now we'll get on, after we just finished that little bit of ivy, little accents going in again. But we're about ready to paint, which I'll be doing with my wash brush again. Just to remind you, contains the water in the haft of the brush, and it's released into the bristles by pushing that haft. This is just damping the paper with the brush to begin with, and then adding a little bit of phthalo blue into that water, just to give the impression of a sunny, cloudy sky. Phthalo blue is also known as Winsor blue, good sky colour. That just gives a little context. A vignetted edge, of course, soft edge. And I think we now need to look at the roof. For the roof, I'm going to be mixing a burnt umber and ultramarine blue, and a little bit of raw sienna in for a bit of warmth. And again, using that wash brush to lay the washes down. The pen work will support all this. So here's that mixture of burnt umber and ultramarine going in. Just that little hint of the raw sienna in there to add a bit of warmth to the slate. Observing the angle of the roof with my brush strokes, of course, that's important. And like I say, these pen lines are indelible. By this time they're quite dry, and if you were drawing outside, of course, they'd be almost instantly dry. This is a bit of cadmium orange going in on a finer wash brush, just to indicate the colour of some lichen that was on top of this barn, growing there quite freely. Strong contrast with the grey. Nice stuff, actually. It makes a nice completion of that roof effect. Just mixing up my colours again. This is burnt umber and ultramarine again. Put that more sienna in, more of that to come in. Slightly warmer wash, I suppose. It is, of course, in all these cases, it's a transparent wash to allow the pen work to show through. A bit more ultramarine blue in that part of the mixture there. Even the odd little flick of white paper showing through, again, just to help to get a bit of texture and light and dark onto the wall. A little bit of raw sienna going in with a finer brush. That just warms up the mixture, just gives a slightly sunnier aspect. Granite is a lovely stone. It reflects light in all kinds of different ways in different lights. This is quite a nice colour for a warm sunny day. A little bit of Viridian green going in there, if I'm not mistaken, as well. I don't think granite any harm. Just tightening up those washes a little bit. Making sure I get nice coverage. It's a big brush, but I suppose the equivalent of a number 10 in watercolour round brush numbers. Just putting in the same colour with a little bit more blue in it to suggest the shadow on the left hand side of the barn there. Ultramarine, burnt umber, strong mixture. Oiling the top of the barn yard wall there. Again, vignetting it, just leaving a nice unfinished side on the edge there. Just mixing up my next colour. Which I think is probably going to be the green for the, and it is, the grasses and for the hedge. This is Viridian green and cadmium yellow. Good, nice, bright, early summer colour, which is what season this was. Just laying that down. Viridian green's an excellent colour for mixing your summer greens with, or for your spring greens also. Makes nice transparent greens. Horrible on its own from a tube, but if you mix it with any other colours, browns and reds and so forth, you get lovely greens with a nice transparency to them, which is of course ideal for this pen and wash work. just dotting in some slightly bluer green, just adding more blue to my mix to get some shadows into the effect. But again, allowing the pen work to show through as much as I can. Big brush, of course. It's that number 10 again. Again, darkening down middle sections just to complete that effect. Need to look, I think, at the barn door now, which is probably going to be burnt umber, at least to begin with. Just mixing the colour here. So there goes the fairly transparent application of burnt umber just to start my barn door off. Big brush again, and a nice transparent wash again to allow the pen work to show through. I'll need to strengthen that and also sort of age it a bit of patina put in with some extra more ultramarine blue, I mean, into the mixture. To strengthen up my shadows now. Burnt umber ultramarine again, probably leaning more heavily on the blue in that mix. Just laying down the stronger shadows in the soffits. Just deepening that down. Slightly finer brush, equivalent of a number 5, I suppose. I've got 3 of these brushes in action on this pen and wash demonstration. A little bit of darker tone on the barn door there. Again, stronger shadows. This is a kind of dangerous phase of the operation, I suppose, putting in the darker things and the details, because you can, if you're not careful, bury the pen work. Be careful not to. So even though the washes appear quite dark, they're still fairly transparent, so you can see the pen emerging from beneath. It's important. Stronger shadow on the barnyard wall there. Again, big brush to strengthen that up. And little touches here and there on the wall itself, just to reinforce those marks we put in with the pen to indicate the texture of the wall. Big brush again for that. Not too much of this, you could overwhelm it and make it too rustic, and maybe too overworked. Here goes the soffit. This is burnt umber again. And the lintel, same colours. And some deeper greens on the hedge. Big brush again. Ultramarine blue, cadmium yellow, viridian green. Strong, darker mixture, just to give some little accents of green. And that, I think I'm right in saying, is pretty much complete.